Welcome back to Mass Appeal. We're going to introduce to you today Batik. It's made using manual wax-resistant dyeing technique. Pretty cool.
Yes, wait till you see it. Now,
Yeah.
here to show us how to do it is Cheryl Resendiz from Snow Farm, the New England Craft Program. Now, this is the finished product over here. It's gorgeous, Cheryl. This is all of your work here.
Yep, it is.
And this
stunning.
is an older technique, but it's still used today.
It's an older technique that traditionally used a combination of beeswax and paraffin and then used dye for the color. This is a sort of modern take on that, which uses soy wax and textile paints. So there are no toxic fumes. You can do it safely in your kitchen.
But
With
first
your
things
kids.
first, you should probably spread out some newspaper or something like that, just to make sure nothing gets stained.
Right.
Now, how do we get started?
There are two ways you can work. You can either have your fabric flat on the table, and I taped it down with some painter's tape, or you can stretch it. And these are ordinary stretcher bars that artists would use for a canvas, and it's just push-pinned to the frame.
Very easy, so it just keeps it nice and
It
firm.
keeps it taut.
Yep. All right, now once we've got our cloth and
That
our
pin does not want to
surface
stay.
ready to go, you have the wax melting right now.
I have the wax melting. It's just an ordinary electric skillet. You can pick them up at the thrift shop, Salvation Army, or buy a new one. You just have to make sure you only use it for the soy wax. Don't use
cook in it.
Right, don't cook in it. One of the beauties of soy wax is it is the right temperature at a very low temperature, and I keep this to just a little bit below medium, which is the equivalent of 200 or 250 degrees. You can tell that it's the right temperature if it's clear to look at and it's not smoking. With smoking, it's too hot. If it's sort of a milky look, and these are the soy wax flakes, you can see when it's melting, it has sort of a milky look to it, and then it's not quite hot enough.
So you want to wait till it's fully melted, and then I can only imagine we take this and start applying it?
We do, yep. You can use a variety of tools. You can use bristle brushes. You can use simple household tools like potato mashers. This is from a candy. Anything that's metal or
Things around
resin.
your house. Yeah,
things
that
around
you
your
have.
house.
And it has to be those specific materials. You don't want them to melt.
Right, metal or resin works just fine. We also have, these are sort of drawing tools. It's called a jaunting tool. The wax goes in this little hole, and it's like in a little cup there, and then this point the wax comes out of, and the point is in different thicknesses, and basically you draw with it, and you can see some of the samples, the leaf shapes that have like a line, those were drawn on with the jaunting tool.
This is amazing. It's amazing.
Well,
I
show
wanna
us
see
some
how you do
techniques
it.
you used on this one. You start, and then we'll see if we can emulate what you're doing.
Okay, I'm going to use this potato masher because it's also in that sample there, and you can see how easy it is. I'm going to leave it in the wax for a few minutes to get hot. While we're waiting, I'm going to use just a fork.
Now, do you have those hair ties on there just to kind of
The hair ties
protect
are there
from the heat?
not to protect from the heat, but protect your tools from sliding down into the wax.
That's a great tip.
And they're just hair ties, you know, from the dollar store. I'm going to use a folded up paper towel for just the
transport?
The transport, yes. And then I'm going to just put it down in the wax.
But the wax is clear. It's not
The
colored.
wax is clear. This is just ordinary white cotton. You can use silk, you can use rayon, basically any natural fiber. If your fabric is really thick, it'll be harder for the wax to penetrate than if it's thin.
Now, how does it work when you want to use a painter's brush?
A painter's brush, same thing. This is, again, a bristle brush, not a synthetic brush that will melt. These are just inexpensive from Home Depot, and you're just brushing it on. And the idea is wherever the wax is, the paint won't go.
Oh.
So you work in layers. So this part where the wax is will always be the white of the cloth.
That is so neat. Now, how does the potato masher work for a design? That has the wax on it.
This has the wax on it.
Okay, here we are.
And I'm just gonna...
Of course, you want to be very careful whenever you're using hot
It's
wax.
all very deliberate motions.
Aha, look at that
And
design.
three different potato mashers, all with a different design.
And I'm sure everyone has one of those. All right, now when does the paint come in? Obviously, once it's all done, but for TV purposes, we can add some color now.
Yeah, actually, it's done in layers. So if I wanted to, and you start with the light colors and you work towards dark. So at this stage, I would put something like yellow on and have it, you can either use a brush with the paints or from the spray bottle, which is my favorite.
Let's do your favorite.
Yeah.
Do I just spray
Just
it?
go ahead and spray it, yep.
Well,
all
it's
over?
easy.
Wherever you want.
Oh, I like the spray bottle.
And that's just textile paints in a spray bottle.
All right, and then
So
what
when
would
you
be the next
finish
step?
your design, it's not 100% done though, because to remove the paint, you need to wash this to get the wax off. Is that
To
correct?
get the wax off. So what you do now is go ahead and usually we wait for the paint to dry a little bit. This time we won't, but. And then I'd go over the yellow. You can draw on it.
So the layering is what becomes
The
important.
layering is what becomes important. So we'll do like a little.
And this, you know, you can't make mistakes when you're doing
No
this.
mistakes.
This is great for
You
kids.
don't need to know how to draw.
Yeah, no, you
You
don't
know,
have, because you can just do abstract designs.
Right, and then you put paint on that so you get a little bit darker, and so where the line is, when a wax is removed, that will be yellow. And you just keep building up from light to dark, and if, at the end, your entire piece of fabric is totally covered with wax.
That is fascinating.
And color. Wow.
Well, you can't, it looks sort of a mess at
A
the
mess.
end.
Yeah, mess it in, but then you wash it.
Eventually,
It becomes that, and you remove the wax by taking some blank newsprint, like that's over there, just a regular newsprint,
Yep.
and putting the fabric between 2 layers of newsprint on your ironing board, and you just iron until most of the wax is removed, and then you just throw it in the washing machine with hot water.
And when you take it out of the dryer, you have this masterpiece. You have the, wow.
And you can sew them together, you can make pillows, anything
Love it.
in your house that you would
Cool.
use fabric. You can, you know, make dresses, you can make curtains, whatever.
Well, we're going to let you
That's
stick
gorgeous,
to it.
Cheryl.
Feel free to stick around all day long if you want. and maybe we
wanna
can
try
check this
it.
out at the end of the show. I can't wait. Let's keep painting.
Okay.
Thanks, Cheryl.
You're welcome.